All right. Hello. Welcome all. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode, what is this, 158, I think? I don't remember.
No idea.
Ready, press play. You'll see the title of that number, the actual correct episode number on the Spotify or whatever you're listening to, because, at least whenever we upload, it's like it has it numbered for us. So, but anyways, yes, I called for this meeting. Um, and let me just, I guess I've done the intro in a while, but yeah, I'm Lewis. You know Dan. He's the co-host. You know, we do ready press play whenever we feel like it, and this is an emergency meeting. Kind of like a little late to the emergency though, because we it's the week is the
It's like a
news.
week late.
Yeah, the week is like yeah, the news is a week late, but you know what? The fact that we went a week late means that we got to like marinate on the news and like really think about things and stuff. And when we say things on the
Exactly.
record, that we mean it.
So we are here today to talk about the explosive diarrhea parasite in the United States.
When I go to Taco Bell, I expect to get diarrhea. I just want to let you know
Yeah,
that.
I know, right? If you don't
Yeah,
get it, there's probably something wrong with it. Like there's
exactly.
probably a parasite in it if you don't get it.
Exactly.
Oh, that's yeah. That one is sad but funny, and so many jokes about the Taco Bell. It really isn't Taco Bell's fault though. It's
Yeah.
like whatever they're sourcing their
For
stuff
lettuce.
from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It was from the lettuce, is what I heard. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. I have intentionally. It's funny because uh,
Is
I
it,
just had the
I hear him a
I
little
don't know if
bit.
it's picking up, but
Just a
I just
little
had
bit.
the I just had the stupid Mario talking flower wish me good morning. Yes, I make certain purchases that are questionable sometimes.
Mine is right
Go
here.
ahead.
Mine is right there. The Yoshi popcorn bucket.
Yeah, there we go.
And
Did you actually put popcorn in it, or are you
no,
just
I
using it as a
actually
decor
I
piece?
buy like a bag of chocolates from like Walmart and like the individual wrapped chocolates,
Mm,
and I
yes.
put it in there, and it's like very discreet, like it's holding the my goodies and stuff. So like my nephews don't know that I store stuff in there yet, so they don't know that my stash of cookie candy is like right there. So
I love that. You know, my dad always kept things like that around the house. Like we used to have like it was like a penguin that
mm,
he'd like pull the head out of or
uh-huh.
something like that, and there was always chocolates in there. But for I think for a long time that was a secret. Like nobody knew, and until somebody found it, and then everybody was eating from it.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, I totally lost the muscle memory of how to do this. So
Yeah, I know, I
what are
know.
we talking about
I,
again?
yeah, I called for this podcast because of the PlayStation news and stuff like that. So we're gonna go on some tangents.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to throw this out there. Here's my other purchase that I did earlier. I bought a second Super Nintendo Classic right over here.
Oh, okay. The
And
way you were pointing, like I could see I thought you were going to talk about the TV that you
mhm,
have in there or
mhm,
something, but I see now at the very back of it, it's kind
yeah,
of hard to see.
yeah, it's very tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very tiny.
The Super Nintendo Classic is I already had one, so I got a
Mhm.
second one and I modded it already. Because I
Oh,
didn't want to mod my own, right? Because it's like I don't want
yeah.
to fuck it up. So I modded it and I added all of my ROMs to the game. Like my personal, I didn't have to download any ROMs because I have a ROM extractor. So all of the games that
Right.
I owned, I just put it on there. And I don't know, I might put more. I have to put NES games and stuff in there as well. So
You're working on the setup of what gaming is going to be like for the rest of your life now.
exactly. Uh, at least I digitized my own games. At least I did like
Yeah.
extract them. I have a cart reader, and it writes it to like an SD card, so I was able to not have to pirate, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, the reason for calling this meeting is because of the. I'll go ahead and pull up the blog post here on the for the viewers. Physical disc production ending in January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles. Um, yeah, this is like one of those like I would have figured that PlayStation would have pulled the trigger first on this. Like they're the ones that like during the PlayStation 4 era is like this is how you share games, thanks, that kind of stuff. And they're the ones who own the Blu-ray format. So every time a Blu-ray gets printed, they get a cut. So it's like they have all the reasons to keep it going and stuff like that. You know, it's a proprietary format that they own and stuff like that. That's become the universal standard. And also like, I don't think Sony cares about preservation, but like that's definitely the best way of preserving games and having games be in a library and stuff like that. Because if it's a closed ecosystem with the PlayStation Network, they have all the control you know, and it's just a rented license. That's all it is, not a
Hey,
purchase.
Yeah, and there were times in the past where I thought the concern of like a game you own going away was perhaps too like doom and gloom and not as realistic. But the truth is, we've now seen over the last few years like that happen to many games. Now I do think I'm gonna try to bring in as much nuance as I can to this conversation.
Hmm.
I will say that having a physical copy of a game nowadays does not necessarily mean that you'll be able to play it forever either. And I think a good example of that is if you have a physical copy of Concord, that is completely useless right
Yeah,
now. If you have a
it's
physical copy of Anthem,
a
that is
coaster,
completely useless right
a
now. Yeah.
coaster. Yeah.
Um, so I almost feel like it's important to separate some of these issues because I feel like there's a separate issue here as well, which is many games are produced nowadays that are not necessarily set up to be playable in perpetuity. Yeah.
That's why you need to go on Twitter and go to Does It Play, because apparently
Oh,
they catalog
yeah.
how much of the game master is complete. Like, can you actually beat the game and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Especially like for single player games, that's gonna be your best go to. I mean, yeah, like I said, I personally I actually have like all my stacks of games here to the side that I was gonna show. Is like I want to say that I walk it like I talk it when it comes to my PlayStation games. I actually did try to go all digital a couple of years ago, and I bought two games. I bought like Tekken 7 and the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy digitally. I was just trying to like I had like friends over here at this couch right here. Like we would all play games and stuff like that. And every time we had to change games, I'd have to get up and take the disc out, insert the new disc and stuff like that. And it was such an inconvenience. And I was like, you know what? I just want to be able to be a lazy, sit my ass down. And so I decided to go digital. But then I walked it back immediately because I created this rule where like I would only buy physical copies of games for franchises I care about slash I have previous entries of
Hmm.
franchises. And it turns out any game that I do that is worth buying that I care enough to buy, it's worth buying physically. So it's like it almost kind of like was like a moot point because it's ended up happening where like every game is just a physical copy.
Yeah. I've also gone through similar journeys. Like at certain moments, I was gravitating more towards digital games. I think early in the PS4 generation, I was buying a lot of things digitally, and eventually, I also started buying things physically again. And I know it's becoming a little less kind of PC to use this term for trivial things, but I get OCD about some of the stuff. Because it's an actual disorder. I don't have the actual disorder, but I think the audience understands what I mean.
Yeah.
And it starts bothering me when I think about how like, oh yeah, like I own like certain games in a franchise digitally and certain other games in the same franchise physically and where is like, do you ever have this happen to you, Lewis, where you question whether you own a game or not, or you're not sure, and you have to go dig to figure it out?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I certainly own, I don't know, like Batman Arkham Knight, and then you go, wait, but do I? And it's like, okay, where's okay, I don't actually have the disc, so where do I own it? It's like, is it on Xbox? Did I get it on PlayStation Plus? Like, you start kind of doing that thing because there's so many different, like with digital, there's not like a cohesive one place. Like if you organize your physical collection, maybe you have like one place to go look for things, but with digital, they could be in so many different places and they could be so many different types of ownership, right? Like you could own it through a subscription. You could own it, like have redeemed it via PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold, or you could outright own it.
Or you have it
And
on Game Pass Ultimate or whatever. It's like
yeah, and it's why people like Lewis even keep track of a whole spreadsheet to know what all games he owns.
you know what?
Uh,
I can actually show you my spreadsheet. I can open up my Google Docs here and actually pull it up. Uh, but while I do that here, I just want to say that I have, in fact, bought games that I owned before in the past, and that's the reason why I created the spreadsheet. And then I didn't keep the spreadsheet up to date. When I
mhm.
added new games to the collection, and then as a result, I ended up buying a game again, and then or even worse. I bought a game I owned. It happened a third time where I bought a game again that I owned, and it was on the spreadsheet. I just didn't bother looking because I just assumed, and it is like that. It's just too much to track, and also like I have to basically I think I have to reorganize my spreadsheet because I make no discernment for PS Plus redeemed games. I treat PS Plus games as
Mm.
games that I own, And
Right.
in this discussion, I'm going to talk about whether or not I'm going to cancel PS Plus, which will happen later on. And if I do, every digital game, which is like 90% of all the digital games you'll see on my PS Plus, my PlayStation, is all going to just become like grayed out and
Yeah.
xed out. Like you can't launch it.
Yeah, that's the wild thing is like I go through my PlayStation catalog of games digitally and I have hundreds of games, but theoretically the vast majority of them are attached to my subscription to PlayStation Plus. And it's interesting how they kind of keep you tied down to these subscriptions that way. Because then you hesitate on, I hesitated on Game Pass for a while and then eventually I did cancel it. And I kind of didn't miss it, to be honest with you. And that's a conversation for another time. I do want to just kind of share my like quick thoughts on the whole like the announcement from Sony, which is that I am nowadays mostly a physical collector. Like I've been trying to complete my physical collections for older consoles and stuff. I do have a bunch of PS5 physical games as well. Um, and yet I feel like I wasn't so shook by this news story as so many other people were. And I think it's because I've been seeing it. I saw it coming for from a mile away. Like I've just kind of been waiting for this day for years now. And almost kind of surprised that it took this long, to be honest, because the as I think a lot of people on the internet, like the narrative around this is coming from a little bit of a naive perspective, in my opinion, because they are forgetting to look at it from the more traditional business aspect, which is the traditional business aspect is the percentage of people that are actually buying physical games has been going down and down and down with every subsequent year, and they make a higher share of profits on the digital games that are now the majority of sales. On top of that, the majority of these companies' revenues is no longer the sale of games, by the way. Like the majority of the revenue is no longer the sale of new games, it is the sale of content within existing games.
Yeah.
So like things in Fortnite and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
So it's like the actual revenue percentage that comes from the sale of new in the shrink wrap physical games to Sony has been getting down to where it's probably in the single digits of a percentage, to where it is no longer financially worth it to continue to keep the production going and all of this stuff. So I think it's a very simple math equation where they finally got to the point where it's like, okay, yeah, this is no longer like we're losing money on this basically. Now, of course, I don't think business should be just about the math equation of money. I think that I am a little bit more romantic than that, and I believe that there is a value in like keeping your most hardcore fans happy and keeping people engaged and keeping just having a what is it called, like good PR and stuff. Like I think all of that is very important as well. But I knew that from a purely like capitalistic like number standpoint that this day was gonna arrive eventually, and then it did. And the other thing is I think the date is very interesting as well. The fact that it's starting January 2028, that leads me to believe this is not something that will affect the PS5. This is something that will affect the PS6.
Yeah, the PS6 is going to come out November 2027, I bet. Or at least that's what the hope
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
I think so too, and I think it will not have a disk drive, and that's the big bit is that at that point it's like they are cutting out that 5% or whatever it is off their fan base. Now, if that 5% gets really vocal and goes to social media and does these boycotts and stuff like that, who knows what would happen? Um, I think it's too late. I think this has happened to every other form of media in one way or another, and then they came back, right? So it's like music went the way of digital, and now vinyl is having to come back, and like books went the way of digital, and now like physical books are having a comeback. So I think that similarly, physical games would also have a comeback because there is a value to it, and I think that the customer base will eventually catch up to that. But I think the reality is right now, just for 90% of people, it's they're not participating in it.
Yeah, I actually, I'm surprised. I got to tell you, just harken back to where you started. I'm actually am surprised that it happened because I figured we could at least get one more generation like PS6 out of it before this happened,
Mm,
and I also figured that Xbox would have been the first to pull the trigger, not PlayStation.
mm.
Like I said, like they have the Blu-ray format, so they have more incentive to gain to keep it around, and they're the ones that manufacture discs. like a motherfucker. But anyways, the other thing I wanted to say, damn it, you said something else earlier. I wanted to reply to. I lost my train of thought, but whatever. Um,
Maybe about the sale, like
Oh
the
yeah,
sale
that,
of
yeah, that's
content
right.
within
Yeah,
games. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what it was. It was the proportion. I think like if you were to just sort of like bird's eye view it, I
Hmm.
think it's like 20% of game sales come from physical, and then 80% comes from digital. But that also
Hmm.
doesn't factor in that a vast majority of the games are digital only. Like
Yeah.
indie developers don't have the publishing capacity to go physical, um, and that's why limited run games actually has to step in and help them out. So when it comes to like the actual like, oh, there goes your flower. Anyways, when it comes to the actual like physical games and stuff like that, if you were to actually take a look at games that get both a physical and digital co-release, at the same time, I think the split is actually like 60-40. Like I think in some there
Mm.
was like a story that broke that Insomniac's own leak. Whenever like Wolverine linked it, stuff like that, they actually had their internal documents leaked where they showed like 70% of Spider-Man sales were physical and 30% were digital and stuff like that. Like they were like
Hmm.
way more skewing like The Last of Us and like basically pretty much every Sony first-party game that was a single player, which at the time was mostly
Hmm.
single player narrative games, people want to own them and they want to own them physically, and they did. And so,
Hmm.
um, so I think that like the numbers are a little bit skewed out of proportion. And so if you were to actually just sort of like zoom in on it, you could actually see that it's actually people are like at very bare minimum 50-50 if you want to like be
Mm.
generous about it. And really it should be skewing more physical, especially when it comes to Sony's own internal first party games.
Yeah, I think the place where I question that a little bit is I wonder if the first party games are even that big of a piece of the pie of their revenue at this point anyway.
No, yeah,
Uh
that's true.
just and I think that's kind of the more like overall like industry view that I'm trying to bring into this is like I've seen some graphs for not Sony but other companies in the past, including a company that I worked for a while, and it was a lot more like they got a lot more return on investment on like making skins or stuff like that than they would in actually making new games. It almost made me question why anybody was making any new games, to be honest. And I wonder about that with Sony. Like I've heard things about how like yeah, like their first party games are big, but they're not like Nintendo where that is the bread and butter. They actually make a lot more money over like the 30% of Call of Duty sales than they do on their first party games.
Damn.
Uh yeah, so I don't know. Like in some weird sense, it's like I almost wonder how much they actually like still care about the first party games and how they're in. And that's I think that's why we keep hearing things about like mass layoffs in these studios and like studios being shut down. And I know that now that's more on the side of Xbox, like recently. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like I guess that just the state of the whole industry is just so weird right now. It just feels so unstable and like I've been telling like Leah this because I end up talking to her a lot like on the day to day since I work on the field. It's like at this point, I will not be surprised by any studio closure at all. Like if they announced tomorrow that Naughty Dog was being shut down, I would not be surprised.
Holy crap. That's
Yeah, like
crazy.
genuinely, because these games have gotten so expensive to make that like even if they are selling 10, 15, 20 million copies, like
It's not
they are
enough.
making 10% return on investment or something. And so it's I don't know, like I'm starting to
I
question
mean, I
like
was
the
I hated
yeah.
I hated Sony for closing Blue Point, so and they were goaded, you know.
They closed. I mean, they closed Blue Point, and we just saw the announcement of a new Hellblade game, and then like literally a few days later,
Ninja
there was
Theory is
word
yeah.
that Xbox was closing Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
It turns out they didn't actually close them, at least not yet, but they're maybe like going independent or
Yeah,
something,
I think they're gonna
which is
sell off
yeah,
studios. I think they're trying to like basically not have them be first party,
yeah.
which I guess is better than they could have done that with Blue Point. They could have at least sold them off.
Destiny 2 is being shut down, and like think about the money that Sony spent to acquire that game. And like it's not to acquire Bungie, it was to acquire that game, because that was like they needed a big multiplayer live service game. And so they like shelled out billions of dollars to acquire that game only to shut it down a couple of years later. And so I guess my point is like perhaps I'm being a little cynical or something, but I'm just like I'm coming into the industry now just expecting everything to fall apart and just like for it to be rebuilt. Like I feel like we're going through Like
The video game crash
what
of
was it?
1983.
Yeah, like basically that all over again. Now the interesting thing is that in the midst of all that, there are games doing incredibly well. Mecha Chameleon. It's a game that just came out. It's made by like one person, and it's like all the hotness on Twitch and stuff like that. And it's a really fun game. It's like one of those friend slop games. You can buy it on Steam for $5. And it's like that is the industry now. That is the stuff that is actually successful. It's like,
Untitled
you
Goose
know,
Game, meme games.
yeah, like a game that was made by a few amount of people that is sold for cheap that anybody can get and play on their toasters, and play together with their friends and stream it and like it goes viral and stuff like that. And it feels like those are the games that are actually making money now. Like those are the games that are actually making bank now. And everyone else is kind of struggling. They're trying to figure out like, like even a game like Destiny, it's like, okay, how do we increase our margins from like 5% to 6%? And investors aren't interested in that. Investors want to like put in X and take out double X. And so yeah, I don't know, like I guess like I'm getting a little cold, almost like a little cold hearted about it all, but it's I look at Xbox and I look at PlayStation and these games that are taking almost 10 years to make, and I don't know how long this is gonna last before the whole thing just crumbles on itself.
Yeah, you did tell
Yeah.
me the last time we saw each other, like in person, like when we were in
Hmm.
Florida. You were telling me how like the games industry is on fire or whatever back then, and now it's even doubly on fire now.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, and I'm kind of a part of the problem because like when it comes to the PlayStation, like I don't I have all these games on PlayStation that I own. A lot of them still in the shrink wrap, and like all I
Hmm.
do is just play Fortnite on it. It's a Fortnite machine.
Yeah.
And I'm just basically all I'm doing is just playing Halo, Fortnite, and Smash, and that's about it.
And here's the thing, Lewis. If we talked about this a year ago, I would have told you, like, okay, the problem is most people, I'm not saying, like, there will always be the hardcore fans, the enthusiasts, whatever. Most people, they're not buying every new big release that comes out. They are just buying the battle pass on Fortnite or their equivalent of Fortnite,
Yeah.
constantly, right?
Like the
Um,
new skin packs in Madden or something like that. Or skin,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like
yeah,
Marvel
that's it.
Rivals, or my brother-in-law was big into Destiny and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Now I think the thing that changed is that now I'm seeing that even those games are struggling, and the proof of that is that Fortnite themselves, they had mass layoffs this year. And I had the very interesting experience of like I was literally interviewing for a role in Fortnite, and I thought I was gonna get the role. Like I was going through the multiple steps, and I was getting close to like the final step of it, kind of thing. And then they announced mass layoffs like one day, and I'm like, oh my god, how does this affect things? I email somebody. It takes a couple of days. I get an email back like, hey, yeah, sorry, like we're halting the hiring for this role and many other roles, etc., because we're restructuring the whole thing. Like the department I was coming in on was no longer even a department
existing.
anymore. It was like
Yeah,
being reshuffled or whatever. So um I had that. I think that's where like something kind of changed in me even more, where I'm like, oh, like if Fortnite isn't safe, who is?
yeah,
And so that's why I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't think yeah, I don't think any Sony first party studio is safe. I don't think any Microsoft first party studio is safe. The closest thing to safe right now is Nintendo,
and
which isn't
actually,
that funny.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We people shit on all their decisions that they make. They're the ones to hit.
Yeah.
They're the ones to like hit first for the $80 price point and stuff like that. Before we go into Nintendo, that I wanted to ask, as far as like the this comment that I heard from one of my friends is like, there's this concept that these companies are too big to fail and stuff like that. Do you think that like when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox, like these digital storefronts, do you think that they're too big to fail so that these games that you buy on the digital storefront are like somewhat secure, or do you feel like if this games industry uploads hard enough that there will not be any like digital stores to access?
I would have thought that before, but not now. I don't think anybody is too big to fail. I think it's easier to say that Steam. I think Steam is perhaps too big to fail at this point. That could change, but like at this point, I would bet on Steam a lot more than the other storefronts. The funny thing is, they announced they were stopping production of physical games in the same week that they announced that they were going to finally shut down the PS3, the best
And
PS3
the
and PS
Vita
Vita
store.
digital stores.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think they had announced before, but I think
Yeah.
they maybe went back on it,
In
and now they're
2021, they tried to close the PS3 stores. There was such a
yeah,
riot, revolt, and then they walked it back. And it's so good. They give them good 5 years. I'll give them that.
yeah,
But it's kind of interesting that basically how you're there's two things at play here. Number one,
Hmm.
they're basically telling you right up front that the PS6 lifespan is going to be about roughly 20 years, because if there's no physical media and you're going to only support the digital store for about 20 years before you shut down the servers and stuff like that, that means that that's it. You're game over, man. Like there's no other ways to acquire games. As a matter of fact, you can't even buy a used PS6, because if you wipe it and there's no account, you like, and in this hypothetical post 20 years future, if you were to sign in with your PlayStation account or whatever, you're like, can you read down? I guess you just read download games that you already
Interesting.
own,
Yeah.
and you can't acquire any new content. But anyways,
Yeah.
and then the other thing, the second thing was like, it was the definite life cycle. I forgot the second point. Fuck, I need to write these things down. But anyways, I don't know, but I guess we can just move on to the Nintendo side of things. But like, I just want to say that I think Nintendo has a right, because I do think that maybe there's a part of me that kind of wants to believe that basically physical games could be a boutique item, and I'll explain my thought process on this with these couple of games here. Give me a second.
Yeah. I think I know where this is going.
So I have, this is my stack of Switch 2 games that I own right here. They're
Hmm.
all of these are like games that are of the cartridge, like the game on the cart. I do
Hmm.
not own a single game key card. I actually have I made this hard rule, like I'm not going to own game key cards, but now I'm willing to bend a little bit on that rule, not in spite of these news, but like I actually thought about it. If I can buy a game key card used at a really, really good price, like let's say it's like a $60 game,
Mm.
but it's like $15 on a game key card, maybe okay, fine. I'll get it used, whatever. It's already out in circulation anyways. So, but otherwise, like I'm gonna try to stick to these physical games. Now, I wanna hone in on three of these games specifically that I'll show you. I'll pull them out actually. Oh, they're right here at the bottom, all three of them. So these are the three games that I wanted to specifically spotlight. Ugh, there we go.
Nice. So
So
I'm seeing the Yoshi game, Star Fox, and Mortal Kombat.
yeah. So when it came to these three games, they all cost more physically than they do digitally. And I was willing to pay the premium because I want to own it, physically. So whenever you go to like, I actually pre-ordered this through Atari's website. So basically, it came. So like when you buy it at retail, it comes like this, but the pre-orders
Hmm.
have this extra sleeve or whatever. But basically, they charged $70 for this game, whereas like if you buy it digitally, like on PlayStation or Xbox or even on Nintendo Switch, if digitally, like it's like $60. Even the physical copies of the PlayStation and the Xbox versions were $60 too. So the reason why they charged the $70 Switch tax was because their $10 Switch tax is because these cartridges have 64 gigabytes in it. They didn't manufacture at the time 32 gigabytes or 16 gigabyte carts, and these cartridges are like $15 to produce alone. Like one
Hmm.
cartridge is about $15, whereas like I think it's like $1.50 for a Blu-ray disc or something like that.
Hmm.
So that's why there's that markup. And the same is true for these Nintendo games, the Star Fox and Yoshi. $60 for Star Fox, $50 digital, and then like no wait, yeah, 60 50, and then 70 60 here, 70 physical,
Yeah.
60 digital. So I'm like, I walk it like I talk it. Like I'm willing to actually buy a physical copy of the game at a markup.
Hmm.
And I think they could, at the very least, in the future, they should have at least considered like it being a buy from Sony Direct or something like that, where we will manufacture, games to order
Mm.
type stuff, or even go to your Best Buy and pre-order the game, and we're only gonna deliver on pre-orders, that kind of stuff. Um, I would be okay with that.
Hmm. I feel like that would be an interesting compromise that they could go after for the sake of satisfying the horde, the horde of with with the pitchforks and stuff like that. Um, it's I'm not sure. I feel like this wasn't. This is where I'm not sure if they're gonna have any kind of response to it. Is I don't think this was a hasty decision. I think this is something that's probably been in the works for many years. For them to finally pull the trigger on, and I think even um I saw somebody. I think it was maybe Sean Layden again. I feel like Sean Layden always like comes out of whatever he's hiding in moments like this to like share his 2 cents and stuff. And I think he might have said something that they were already considering this even while he was at PlayStation. I don't think Sony's gonna walk it back, or at least not fully walk it back. They might find some level of a compromise. Um, I not sure if Xbox is gonna follow suit because Xbox now has the perfect opportunity for like a win in a sense over Sony. So I do think they would have done it normally, but I wonder if they're investigating whether it's worth it to like even if they don't think it's like financially good or whatever, like to eat that kind of cost for the sake of potentially having a win over Sony. Um, I do think that it a significant percentage of gaming happens on PC now, and PC has moved away from discs
Yeah.
a long time ago,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't know exactly how the pie is divided at this point, but I think that it's like I think it might be something like it's like I don't know, like 30% or like 50% mobile or something like that, and then it's like 25% PC, 25% console, or something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
And it's like console is the only part of that. If you look at gaming overall, like console is the only part of that pie that's still holding on to discs, and it's like it's not. It is the numbers. We might argue about the numbers, but it's like it is a percentage of the audience. It's not the whole audience. And I feel like it's one of those things where like I think we need to go there for it to get back, if that makes any sense. It's almost like the industry is going to have to go into this direction of the fully digital first for people to like, and when I say people, I don't mean like the enthusiasts, I mean like the average consumer to miss it and get nostalgic and like there to be like nostalgic content about it, and then it comes back in a similar way to how vinyl is now coming back.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is like the full circle thing. It's like we need to have our like Spotify dominance moment so that we can then have like cool like vinyl come back again. And then the truth is that I do not like the state of physical anyway. And I think a lot of gamers feel this way, which is like even though I am a fan of physical games, I am a lot more of a fan of how physical games used to be than how physical games are now. You mentioned the game key cards or whatever.
Uh-huh.
That's one thing. Another thing is games that are now releasing physically that don't even have a disc in it. That are like they are releasing physically, meaning there's an empty box with the code in it. Another thing is games where are games that are unplayable without a day one patch,
Yeah.
right? Or
Uh,
something along, or games that require some sort of online ping to play, even if they're not necessarily a multiplayer game. Um, Games where you only have part of the game in the cartridge. It's the case for some of the Switch games, and you got to download the rest of the game, right?
yeah.
And then on top of that, there's no extra flair anymore. It's
No
very rare that
manuals.
you get any kind of extra flair. Um,
Yeah. So
and
like,
so
look here.
yeah,
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Sorry. This doesn't come. This didn't come with it. I actually
yes, you
bought that.
bought that on Etsy,
Etsy.
right?
Yeah, I
I've
bought this.
seen those. Yeah.
Okay. Bad example. Bad example. But yeah, no. This
Um.
came with Cyberpunk, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So for audio listeners, Lewis went to open his copy of Donkey Kong Bonanza
I had a
to show
manual.
that there was no manual in it, and then there was a manual in it that he custom. I've seen those for sale on the internet. So,
Okay. My
um,
bad. My bad. That one's on me.
so I think companies like limited run games are doing things like this. Like they are doing like the cooler physical games and the stuff with like the extra flair and stuff. And so I want to see that come back. I want to see physical games come back in a way that is where there's actually value. Like where you're not just buying the same thing that you would have gotten digitally anyway, or you're not buying something worse, as is in some cases. You're actually getting some kind of added value from getting the physical copy of that game. And then at that point, price it at $100. I don't care, because then people like me and Lewis, who are the enthusiasts, who are the passionate people about this, can go and buy, our top 3 games of the year physically and have it actually be something cool that is worth displaying in a collection that has some added value to it. has some kind of exclusive content, yada yada yada.
You know, it's kind of funny. Is like Rockstar used to be like the good guys of like having so
Oh
much
yeah.
flair on all their packaging. Like my PS3 copy of Red Dead Redemption, like one and two actually, but specifically one would weigh so much because of how much shit was inside there. Like they had like this, big fold out map that you can just like sprawl
Yep.
out and stuff like that, and like. Now now same company Rockstar is now releasing GTA 6 as a code in a box.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to be part of like the biggest entertainment launch in history ever. Like I wanted to put $100 down towards GTA 6. That was my original intention. I actually considered buying a PS5 Pro on the secondhand market, just so I can be able to play
Mm-hmm.
GTA 6 at the best quality possible. And I found one for like a good price too. Like PS5 Pros are
Mm-hmm.
like $900 brand new now, and I found it for $700 on Facebook, and that's how much it used to be when it was new, when it first
Yeah.
launched. So that's a good price. That's kind of fucked up. But anyways, um, the, I was planning on buying GTA 6, but now because it's a digital only product, I may never own GTA 6 ever because I'm not gonna buy GTA 6 for $100 and not have something that I can hold tangibly. It's just not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I see where you're coming um, from there, and but I think that the fact that Rockstar did that just validates that it's like they are seeing like we don't have access to all these numbers. We have access to random, like you were saying, like oh they leaked this about Spider-Man or whatever. Which to be fair, like even like as far as The Last of Us Part Two, that was 6 years ago. So like everything from then it would be outdated. And from what I've heard, the pandemic shifted things significantly towards digital to where they were pre-pandemic. So I think that's a factor as well.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I will say that like the fact that other companies we'll see other companies do this is not just gonna be Sony. And I'm gonna sort of defend Sony in a way the same way that I defended Nintendo with the $80 price points. It's like they are taking the flack because they're the ones that are going first.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean they don't deserve it, but they're not the only ones that will deserve it, if that makes any sense. Like Nintendo went first with pricing Mario Kart World at $80. We now have seen other games, not many, but other games we priced at $80. We'll see more games we priced at $80. Um, and I think that there's a lot of things at play here in the world, happening in the world, that are leading to some of these changes happening that are beyond and outside of the games industry. It is economics, it is AI, it is all this other stuff like manufacturing problems. And
Xbox
it's
Series
kind of
S is now $500, which is the same price as the Xbox Series X back then.
all right.
Like,
So I wanted to bring up a couple other subjects,
yeah,
like if we have the time.
go for it.
So yeah, like consoles keep going up in price, and like this has never happened before where 6 years into a generation it is 30, 40, 50% or more expensive to buy a console now than it was if you bought it day one. It is now true for all three of the big three because Nintendo just announced that the Switch 2 is also going up in price, although not as dramatically, but it is also going up in price. So what do you think about that? What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, it irks me because like it used to be like the thing where it's like you would make a slim model and you would always like around this time of the life cycle you're trying to basically like get rid of your
Yeah.
inventory essentially, like selling for $200 and make them
Yeah,
impulse
any other
buys.
any other generation, you'd be buying a PS5 now for like 250, and you'd buy like a Switch One for like 199 or
Yeah,
something like that, and
exactly.
the Series X would be $300. Like I don't know, so yeah.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Like that's just how like the late but the people late to the party get the benefit of having the buy the hardware cheaper and have a whole library of games that have built up over time that they could just basically just jump right into. And
Hmm.
now it's like, well, there really isn't much of a library because this console generation kind of stagnated. And then on
Hmm.
top of that, your prices are going up. So it's like those are yesterday's prices type stuff. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how like I feel like I got a deal when I bought it day one and stuff like that. I didn't ever think that was going to
Hmm.
be possible, but here we are.
It's funny, even when the Switch 2 came out, I actually wasn't I'm not always an early adopter. I sometimes am, I sometimes am not. And I remember thinking like, I don't know if I want to buy the Switch 2 yet because it'll take some time for more games to come out. And I think in the from the get go it was just Mario Kart, and I don't remember what else. Um, and so like normally I might have waited, but the thing that made me go and buy it, make sure to get it, like even when it was in to make sure to pre-order, was one, the fear that I would not be able to get it at all, because of shortages with like the previous with the other consoles, and the second thing was the fear that it was going to go up in price. And it took a bit, but now it is going up in price a year in. And yeah, it's just very interesting to see this new reality. And I think a lot of people are looking at these price increases and calling it corporate greed or something along those lines. I really don't think that's what it is. Like genuinely, I think these companies really wish that they didn't have to do this because they know the bad PR and they know how much it tanks their sales when they do it.
Yeah, because
In fact,
you're not going to want
it,
to impulse buy something as much because there's like a barrier to
yeah,
entry. Yeah,
I really think it is I really do think that they are being pushed to a point of no, they don't have a choice basically with the parts, with the cost of the parts, with the tariffs, with everything else. Like I think it's too much. Like at some point they can only eat that cost. Like if the companies overall were doing like really well, maybe they could eat that cost, but they can't.
right.
Um, and so, yeah, and so I think it's not necessarily fair to say that, but I also agree that the consumer does not have a responsibility to worry about the businesses, right? Like the consumer, it's okay for the consumer to be selfish, for lack of a better word, to
Yeah,
be upset that like what they would have otherwise bought for $500 is now 700 or 800 or whatever.
yeah.
Um, what do you think about the new Xbox? Asha Sharma's leadership and the way that
I
things are being steered in there and stuff.
I genuinely thought that she was coming in to be the Grim Reaper, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like because the way like Sarah Bond and Phil Spencer's like just happened to get like we're leaving of our own accord and there's nothing to do with anything. Everything's fine here. Like it just kind of reads as like she's just gonna basically come here and AI everything up and like we're gonna strategize, like that kind of stuff. It just kind of it was reading to me as like I don't know. She was like this Microsoft face, I guess. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to explain it, but it seems to be like she seems to be course correcting with the lowering of the Game Pass price, not to what it was before, but just lowering it. Seeing, I'm like making Gears of War E-Day Xbox console exclusive, so maybe Halo campaign Evolved will be the first and only Halo game on PlayStation. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's console exclusives are like the bread and butter when it comes to like propping up the sales of hardware and stuff like that. So I think it's kind of necessary, and I think that could be good. I don't know if Game Pass is going to continue to exist in like 2 years from now, though. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, I was also initially thinking that Asha Sharma was not going to do a good job. And it's strictly because she did not seem to have a background that made sense. She was coming from the AI side. I was like, oh no, she's going to come in and try to push like AI up everybody's ass, like so many other companies are doing with this, and is going to ruin the Xbox even further and just be. I genuinely think I was saying this leading up to like before that story even came out. I kept just mentioning like, okay, I think Xbox is going to be done soon. I think this is the last like Xbox generation. And then when they announced that, I was like, okay, yeah, I think this is the nail in the coffin. I think that Phil Spencer, Sarah, they're jumping ship all they can. This is over. Um, and in reality, like all the actions that she did, like early on, like coming in, everything just seemed to be the right thing. And honestly, seemed to be like the fact that one of the first things she did was to kill the "This is an Xbox" campaign, which honestly, like, was an awful campaign. I don't remember if I said that initially, like when it came out. I think we were maybe sort of like in a wait and see approach, like, oh, this is a new direction for Xbox or whatever. But in hindsight, it's like, come on, like they completely devalued their own platform and treated it like it didn't need to exist anymore. It's like it was a great campaign to kill it, if that's what they wanted to do. If they wanted to kill Xbox and just be like a game publisher, that was an excellent campaign for that. But now it seems like they didn't actually want to kill Xbox and they're walking a lot of those things back. And I think they're doing a lot of things right. I think Xbox under Asha Sharma's leadership is doing a lot of things right. When I saw the announcement of the 3,000 layoffs and the potential studio closures. I was like, no, no, like, like we were in a good direction. What are you doing? Um, but that being said, once again, I think it might be kind of inevitable. I think that at least the studios are continuing to survive under new leadership. At least Double Fine. Can you imagine if they buried Double Fine like that? That would be such a sad moment for the industry, like with like the history of that studio.
Yeah.
Um, and so I am glad that some of these independent studios are going previously independent are going back to being independent. And I think that in some way or another, like it's sad, and I've been laid off before and I feel bad for all the people laid off, but I think the reality is that these companies did grow to an unsustainable level and they all do need to shrink to their minimum. It's almost like the minimum size they can operate in. And we're seeing that with all of these companies. And I think that I'm not ready to cast a big judgment on this new era of Xbox yet, just based on the layoffs.
Yeah.
Because all the companies are doing it.
So the new phrase
Um,
is instead of too big to fail, it's now too big to sustain.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Now I want to talk about Phil Spencer for a second because since Phil Spencer left, it was officially the end of his tenure, right,
Mm-hmm.
at Xbox. It was like a 20-year tenure at Xbox, maybe a 10-year as the head of Xbox. Um, and I get a little annoyed about the way that people talk about Phil Spencer on our circles or like just kind of the gaming enthusiast circle because I think he gets a free pass and I don't think he should. I
Yeah. He's
genuinely
good
like,
guy Phil. Yeah.
yeah, like I understand that he's cool. I understand that he's has a lot of charisma, that he likes games and
He
all these
plays
things.
games and yeah.
He plays games, that he wanted the best for Xbox, that he was trying to do his best. But ultimately, I mean,
His
his tenure must have been one of the worst tenures one of the big three
yeah.
like CEOs ever.
his
Like,
his big crown jewel was like Game Pass, and
yeah.
the jury's still out of whether or not that was a good idea or not. I mean, maybe
Well,
it wasn't. Yeah,
the conclusion right now is that it was unsustainable and that it has not grown to the numbers that they needed it to.
yeah.
They needed it to reach something like 100 million subscribers, and they peaked at 35, and then I think it's been going down since.
Damn.
So I mean I feel like everybody kept saying like, oh, but he inherited Domatrix Xbox, but I feel like that only goes so far. Like at some point you're responsible for it. Like you
I
can't just keep.
I think Xbox is still paying the price for the 2013 Xbox One launch. I think they're still reeling. I think they've never truly like actually overcame that.
I just feel like Lewis at some point that starts feeling like a cop out because like you had 13 years to turn that around. Like you can't just keep blaming it on that. Like
Well,
I disagree with that.
he did say that losing that generation was the worst generation to lose because people built up their digital libraries, and then when they migrated, you just migrate with it. You know.
I understand, but he took over in the beginning of the generation. He still had the entire generation, like the Xbox One generation. Phil Spencer was the CEO for the majority of the Xbox One generation,
Yeah.
And so this is what I think. Okay, I'm into sports. I know you're into sports as well. Like you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Let's say a coach does a terrible job with the Dallas Cowboys. They don't even qualify for the elimination rounds or whatever. Like that the playoffs that
Yeah.
never happens. But let's say we have the worst season ever.
Okay.
They fire him. The next season, new coach comes in. Like he comes in. Maybe you say, okay, he's got a lot to fix. Like last year we sucked. Like we understand if he doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, that's okay because there's a lot
We
of
got to
work to be
rebuild.
done
It's a
here.
rebuilding season. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if that coach is there for 13 fucking years or, like 10 fucking years and they're still blaming it on the one bad, come on. Like I can't buy that anymore. And so I feel like I just wanted to say that like I mean, it wasn't just Phil Spencer. Jim Ryan did a terrible job as the CEO of Sony as well.
Yeah.
Uh I just think that we had like as much as he's a cool guy and whatever, like we had a bad generation for competent CEOs compared to where we were at before. In the 360 era, okay, um, Nintendo had Satoru Iwata, like so Nintendo Wii, right? Like it was like Satoru Iwata was the president and Reggie was like Nintendo of America. And PlayStation had that was before Sean Layden. It was the other guy, like Jack Tretton, on the US side, and then I think it might have still been Ken Kutaragi on the Japan side, or maybe that was before. Or oh, no, Shuhei Yoshida. Like, we had a lot of like strong faces. And then on Xbox, a lot of people don't remember this, but before Domatric, the CEO of Xbox was Peter Moore, who was like who also went on to be the CEO of
EA.
EA
Yeah.
and some other places. Um, those are good execs. Like those, they actually knew how to run a business and they knew what they were doing and they knew how to work within the confines of like their limitations and like to manage these studios well. And I feel like this generation just we did not get the same level of execs across the board. That's my opinion at
Across
least.
all
And I think
three.
that's part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like Doug Bowser barely got to stuck around, and now we have this new woman. I don't remember her name yet. So yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah. What's up? What's up?
No, I was gonna say, at the end of the day, like Nintendo is being ran better than the other two right now, in my opinion. I don't know exactly who's running things at Nintendo. I know there's someone new with Nintendo of America, but I don't know who's the president even on like Nintendo Japan at this point.
I
Um,
used to know it. I forgot. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, they, in the grand scheme of things, like they're not without their flaws, but in the grand scheme of things, they're doing much better than the other guys.
All right. Let's see here. I'm googling it. Nintendo's president is Shuntaro Furukawa. Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, is it still him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, I wanted to ask you a couple of things about Nintendo. First of all, do you own this game? Question mark.
Physically, no.
So
I
you
got the I got the Switch 2 edition that had it like the download code for it.
yeah. Oh, tisk tisk tisk. Because I don't know. I bought the Etsy swag too. By the way,
Oh
just yeah.
yes.
I was just saying, like, when it comes to digital ownership, like, I, it doesn't feel like I own it. And I'll tell you, I'll give you two examples. Number one, not affecting me directly because I never bought movies on PlayStation library, but they also the same week or within a week of the prior to the announcement, they actually like delisted and took away movies from people's libraries, like movies like Terminator 2 and Paddington and stuff like
Wow.
that.
Hmm.
Basically, they had lost the license to the movie, so they actually had to just yeet them out of their library, so you can't like watch them anymore. Like I think starting like September 1st or something. Like they gave it like a 3 month head start.
Wow.
And so it's basically like I would say like it's tantamount to like Sony just busting into my house and just robbing me like like a thief in the
Yeah.
night. We call that theft, is what we call
Yeah.
it. I bought it good, and therefore I should own it. Is what it feels like. And it's like nope, you don't. It's like yeah, we all have to like scroll through like pages and pages and scrolling of like terms of service and stuff like that and user license agreements and stuff like that. I know we do that, and I know we hit agree, but we don't really agree to we have to. Sometimes you can't even use a service unless you agree to something, so like it's kind of like
Yeah.
a hostage situation. um
I
oh,
yeah.
I was going to say like just to further add to it, like I've lost my copy of PT, so I know what it's like
Mm,
to lose a digital good forever and ever. So
yeah.
but yeah.
Um I have a new opinion about this stuff that is different than an opinion I had before, and it's kind of like on the politics sort of side of it, which is that in the past, the games industry was very resistant to outside regulation or the involvement of external bodies in their decision making, and that's where the story of the ESRB
ESRB,
comes
yeah.
from. I think it's time for governments to get involved in the games industry now. I think that there's too much, um, yeah, almost like I don't know if consumer abuse is the right word, but something close to that, where these companies have gotten a little bit too much power, they've gotten a little bit too much money from the consumers, and now they can kind of do whatever they want with it. And other physical goods, like markets of physical goods, have like a lot of regulation to make sure consumers are protected. And I feel like markets of digital goods do not have the same levels of regulation yet. And so I would no longer be opposed to governments starting to pass laws
Or
about how games should be made and
oh,
distributed and
do
stuff
you
like
think they
that.
should like force a law where like you can have more than one digital storefront in the console?
I'm not so sure about that one necessarily, but potentially, I am thinking of things like I think every game should have some sort of offline mode. For example,
Yeah.
like I think that if you buy a game for whatever price it is, that game should be forever playable in some way, even if it's not like,
Like
for
that
example,
that
like
Ubisoft Cars game, that they
yeah,
got
the crew,
the crew. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. If you're gonna go and buy a game, so I guess the point would be like, for you to be able to legally sell a game, the game needs to have some sort of operational gameplay and some sort of value, without an internet connection, or without needing to connect to a server. Because I don't think it's fair for people to go and buy a game and spend money on the game and stuff, and then I think the flower talked like 4 different times over the course of this 1 hour, by the way. Um, and just not be able to do anything with it. And I had that experience with Anthem, which I talked about. Like I played for the first time when they were about to shut down the servers last year,
Hmm.
and I actually did enjoy it. And I just kept thinking, like, man, if only like the game very much it was totally playable alone. Like that's the thing. It's like there's no reason other than just not from a technical standpoint. I'm speaking from a design standpoint. From a design standpoint, there's no reason why that game couldn't be playable single player. From a technical standpoint, I get it. Like the stuff is running on a server somewhere. You'd have to redo the architecture uh, so that you can either run a server locally or that it can work without a server or whatever. But my point is like I do think that should be something that is required.
It would be nice if like you had four PlayStation consoles and you had or eight PlayStation
Mhm.
consoles and you had 8 discs of Concord and you can all LAN party it right now, just like
Yeah,
like
or
they should have at
something
least.
along those lines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to actually, we're gonna wrap it up here on my last and final thought, and this is what I alluded to earlier about canceling PS Plus. I'm gonna put on screen for the viewers, not for Dan, because Dan can't see my screen, but I'm gonna put
Mm.
on screen, my Excel spreadsheet that I have, and
Oh yeah.
the text is very small for you guys to see. You kind of have to squint a little bit, maybe. But I have like my games. Here's my Wii U games, and I'm gonna scroll down to my PS4 games. So here's my PS4 games right here, and I have a whole. I'm scrolling, and I have all these physical copies. These are all physical copies of PS4 games I have, and it's quite a lot. It's all alphabetized, and then you see in parentheses like the digital. And so you can see how much I scroll here for the PS4 games. Now here's how much I scroll for the digital games. Like these are every digital game I own. I'm gonna put in air quotes own, and I'm still scrolling, 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 scrolling. I'm still scrolling, and again, I'm only at the M's. I'm still scrolling, and so you see all these digital games that I own, quote unquote. This is because I've been claiming PS Plus games every month without fail. I finally got to the end. And so yeah, I think I bought maybe less than 10 of them actually. Like I purchased the license, like a digital game like Ultra Street Fighter or 4 or whatever, or something like that. For the most part, these are all like games that I would lose if I do cancel PS Plus, and I am considering it. And I did, in fact, I went from PlayStation Plus Premium and I went down one tier. I might even go down another tier again to the lowest, bottomest of tiers myself, as what I'm considering right now. And and my biggest thing, and this is like the reason why I wanted to sort of call this meeting is because it's almost like a therapy session for me because I am unironically considering ending like my run of buying content on games and stuff like that. Just ending my video game collection and hard stopping it. Like
Mm.
I'm not gonna buy a PS6. I'm not gonna. I mean, if I may buy whatever the next Nintendo console is if they support physical, which I'm pretty sure they would. But I'm not gonna buy the next Xbox. I mean, the concept of $1,000 console, $1,000 plus console, and it's gonna be digital only. It's gonna be like, well, fuck. You know what I mean? Like I might as well just say game over. and just stick here and basically be a retro gamer essentially. And I say retro in quotes, but like essentially we're like I have like I'll even put it to you this way. Like, this is just some of my PS5 games, just some. Like this isn't all of them, but like
Mm.
like I haven't played any of them like at all except for Astrobot. I actually platinum Astrobot because but like I want to. Oh, actually, I have beaten
You
God of
played
War.
Ghost of Yotei a little
Yeah,
bit.
and
You
God of
played
War. Yeah,
God of War.
yeah.
Yeah.
I beat God of War. I take that back. But basically, like, yeah, the point is like I basically have so much content that I think in theory I could literally take the rest of my life to go through,
Yeah.
if not and fail and not be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I am considering just essentially like leaving gaming behind essentially, but also play what I have and just stick with what I have. Maybe the value of all this shit will appreciate like Earthbound did,
Mhm.
you know.
You know what's so funny you say that is that like I guess some of these calls sometimes that are a reminder of the things that we have in common. Because I also really like doing spreadsheets and tracking things on spread. I have spreadsheets on my collection. I just think it's out of date. And I've been pondering something kind of similar, um, in a sense, which is the idea that the PS5, Xbox Series X generation is like the last generation of traditional console ownership, meaning like with physical games and stuff like that, and like console gaming being cheaper than PC, which is, console gaming and PC are almost converging now. There's kind of a certain beauty to that finality, in my opinion. Like, I almost like the idea of like, I will just focus on completing like those collections, like completing my PS5 collection with all of the, the first party games and all of the big third party games that I want, like completing my PS4 collection, completing my Nintendo collections, um, and having that be it. And the interesting thing is like, oh, but you don't want to play new games after that? And it's like, no, I could play new games, but I could play new games on PC, for example, right? Like, and I'm not much of a PC gamer, and so it's weird for me to even say that. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about I kind of like, in this weird way, like I kind of like that Sony made this decision for me. That is like that I will not, because at some point it does become clutter and it does become hard to find the space for it and stuff like that. And so like I kind of like, in a sense, that Sony is saying like PS1 through PS5, like that is what you can collect, right? And I don't know. There's kind of like there's something interesting about the finality of it in that sense. But I do think it will all come back one day. I don't know how. It might not even be PlayStation anymore at that point, but I do think it will all go back because I'm kind of having this realization as I get older that I think everything is cyclical in one way or another. Like fashion is very cyclical. Like everything that was once in fashion gets, is no longer in fashion and then eventually comes back in fashion. Um, and I think that we move in circles a lot more than we actually evolve, like as a society in general. Like we evolve, but we evolve kind of like this. Like you're just like, and I guess that gets a little philosophical too. But yeah, I think that one day within our lifetime we'll have like some sort of like a new generation of consoles that are once again affordable, that are once again physical, that are once again focused on single player, and that it's like, uh, yeah, like what is old will be new again.
I've seen a skit like, hey, this is how you share your games on PS6. Like, have you seen that skit where it's like
No, I have
they
not.
did
Yeah.
this thing where like instead of like how like you're like you get a game
Hmm.
and you're like thanks, that skit that they did,
Yeah,
and then they recreated it, and they actually had a PS5 console and handed them the PS5.
that's funny.
This is how you share a
Um,
game. You give them your console.
I mean, in quotes, like poor people, or people without the means to buy new games will no longer be gaming on console anymore.
Yeah,
Number one, but they maybe wouldn't anyway because of the prices of consoles.
yeah.
So maybe it's like it wouldn't necessarily make that much of a difference. Um, Yeah,
I don't know
what
how I would be if like if a PS6 had a like disc attachment, like you know what I mean, like if I would
mm,
my knee jerk reaction would be to like go ahead and even just pony up and pay the premium, but like
yeah.
I don't know, like I haven't I have to like I'd have to see what the marketing for the PS6 would look like before I even consider, what.
As of right now, if you ask me, I have no interest in buying the PS6. I have no interest in buying whatever's next for Xbox Project Helix. Uh, I don't think we have to worry about Nintendo because they just released the Switch 2. So I don't think we'll,
We
the
got we got
Switch 3
we
is
got
at least
six
five,
years.
6 years
Yeah,
away.
we got six
Yeah,
years with it. Yeah, 6 more years of this stuff. Yeah,
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 and I am definitely not buying a Steam machine, which that was the other thing that we didn't talk about. The
yeah.
yeah,
That
but
1049 or something like that. It was like, yeah, it was a lot. I think it was supposed to come out for $700, and now it's like, yeah,
yeah,
now it's outside the range. But yeah, like I said, um, I might become a retro gamer, and I think I'll be happy with it. I don't see, I see my PS5 can. I was say from graphically, like my PS5 and Xbox Series X, I'm not really wanting for more. To tell you the
yeah.
truth, it's like with the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch One, like and the Xbox One specifically, like really the Xbox One. Like when we got like 6 years into the life cycles of these consoles and stuff like that, and you felt the age, you felt the like it was kind of like ooh, and it's
Yeah.
like this is not this. I'm not having that kind of like that like friction when I come to
Hmm.
running the menus and navigating and loading and like yeah, that's just kind of how I am where I am mentally. And yeah, like I said, like I am I'm not like saying like definitively like I'm planting my flag as like I will not buy the PS6 and like I'm kind of like in the I'm not quite so interested in the PS6 right now. As like
Hmm.
I ponder if like whether or not the PS6 will be like a Nintendo Switch, a cartridge, not a
Mm.
cartridge base, but like a handheld, and like
Interesting.
you
Yeah.
don't you can't put a disc because obviously you can't put a disc in a Nintendo Switch. I wonder if
Yeah.
like this is like a ponder like here's what I think: a PS6 is a PS5 but handheld. So
Mm.
CPU, GPU, you're not getting any kind of graphics leap, but you're getting a form factor leap. And any game you develop on PS5 can work on the PS6 on the PlayStation Store because it's digital.
That would be so interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just a thought. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Any
could see
closing
that happening.
thoughts? Any closing thoughts?
Uh, Enjoy it while it lasts.
Indeed. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do any kind of call to action or whatever like that. You do what you want. Vote with your wallet.
Hmm.
Like if you want to support physical games, buy physical games. If you want to cancel PlayStation Plus, go ahead and cancel it. Um, if you bought a digital PS5 and that's what you're locked in on, just continue buying your digital games. You know, just enjoy
Yeah.
whatever you can, whatever, however you can. Me
Yeah.
personally, I'm gonna be buying my games on Nintendo for the most part going forward. Third-party games, I may or may not be buying third-party games because they're gonna tend to be game key cards. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
friction pans out. So yeah. Otherwise, I know this is a bit of a downer ending, and it sucks because this podcast is usually happier. But either way, I'm happy that we got to talk about this topic and we got to say our piece. And yeah, we came here, we reunited to talk about the game industry imploding, and and we were here to
Yeah.
and our watch has ended like kind of like Game of Thrones, like our watch has ended a long time ago, but we're still watching.
I think the interesting thing is like, I think it's not that the industry itself is imploding, it's more like the industry as we know it, as like the console game enthusiasts, first party enthusiasts that we are. I think that's the stuff that's really changing, and that is becoming a smaller and smaller pie of the actual like what actually makes money in the industry. What actually makes money, like it's like Roblox, like that is like where a lot of the money in the industry comes from, and yeah, there's something about like it's like the top 10 games make like 90% of the money or something like that. And so and even those are struggling, or like some of
Yeah.
those are struggling. And so yeah, I think that we're going to have to see this shift be complete in a sense, and then I think that unfortunately like a lot of studios are going to shut down, a lot of games are going to get canceled, a lot of franchises are going to die and yada yada.
Terrible.
And then eventually Eventually it's going to get better. And I've been waiting. We've been waiting for when it's going to get better for a few years now, and we're not there yet. But it's going to happen. But in the meantime, I'll tell you this: it's like these there's like these smaller games. It's like Peak, Repo. Like I said, Mecha Chameleon is the one right now. Like a few years ago, like Fall Guys, Among Us.
Hmm.
Like these are the games now. It's like these are the ones that actually like they come out and they make a splash and everybody goes and plays them and they're usually super cheap. They were super cheap to make. And there's usually some kind of social component to it.
Oh,
Uh,
and speaking of indie games, I was gonna say like not like I guess like AAA indie games.
mhm.
I have abstained from buying Hollow Knight, Silk Song, and Mina the Hollower
Mm,
because they are digital only products. I believe they're coming like Hollow Knight, Silk Song. I believe is coming out in October physically, and I don't know about Hollow Knight, Silk Song or no, I'm sorry. Hollow Knight Silk Song is coming out physically in October. I don't know about Mina the Hollower. I don't think the Yacht Club Games has announced the physical release,
mm.
but I'll be buying those games when it comes out. I've been wanting to play them, so I can wait a little longer, and I am.
Yeah. The way I would end this is support the indies
Yeah, that's a good one.
because they'll get us through this time frame. I
Yeah,
think.
they do the creative
Yeah.
stuff. But anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, I thank you, Dan, for taking the time to do this podcast. Thank you, listeners, for you know listening to us and supporting us, and I appreciate it. Um, I am gonna try to be happier, and I'll see you guys whenever we get around to calling for the next emergency meeting. But I've been your host, Lewis, and I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88. And I guess just to plug, if you guys want to go to my Chakalaka88 on Twitch, this Saturday I'm doing Download Complete 3, which is my Street Fighter tournament. It's going to be a
Oh, nice.
stacked year because the competition is going to be even more stiffer this year. Because finally I got people to agree to show up that I've been meaning to show up. So
What time?
it's going to be 7 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, for this Saturday. And
Okie dokie.
yeah, I think that's all I got. Dan, you want to plug yourself?
Yeah, power up, Dan, everywhere. If you want to catch me sometime this year doing things, I think probably the best place is also Twitch because I'm trying to get some stuff going there. It's been hard because I just can't find the time for it, but I've been very slowly working on my setup. If
Yeah.
that makes any sense, it's like for like 30 minutes per week. I've been like working on my setup to try to get to a point where I can do it.
Yeah, Dan told me
But
his Twitch plans, and it's going to be juicy. So definitely watch his. We'll keep an eye on his Twitch. But yeah,
all right,
otherwise, happy gaming, everyone. We'll see you guys whenever we see you guys. Take care.
see you next time. Bye bye.